Okay, so in this video, we'll cut out the pattern. I went ahead and finished sketching in the lemon peel shapes here on that piece of paper. We're going to cut this out and then we're going to transfer it over to a piece of leather, trace that piece of leather and then cut that piece of leather out. So one of the things I mentioned in the last video was the rough dimension across the thickest part of the lemon peel was 2 1/4 inches. So before you cut, just kind of make sure that these are about 2 1/4 at the thickest point, and these are pretty close. So now I'm going to cut that lemon peel shape out. This is where the sharp scissors come in handy and trace along that as best I can. I want to get this to come right into that point there. Comes out. No reason to rush through this. You're going to be using this pattern, well, hopefully, over and over. You may find after you make your first baseball that it wasn't exactly like you liked it, and then you'll come back and make another pattern. At some point you'll have a pattern that you really like, and then you can make that your permanent pattern. But there could be some trial and error involved in this, so don't get frustrated about it. I've cut these things out many, many times when I've tried to make something different for somebody. Keep it slow into that point. You don't go too far in there. And then this last piece. The smoother you can be now, the smoother your end pattern is going to be. Okay, so there's, oops, I can see this little tip spot here. I don't know if you can see that I kind of missed that line, so I want to check that, get that off of there. So now we've got a pattern that we can use to cut the leather. Get some things out of the way here, so I'm going to bring in this piece of leather, find the spot, and when you do this, if you've got a bigger piece of leather, you kind of want to eyeball it and see what's the best way to lay it out. If you can get 4 covers out of this or 5 covers out of this, the way you lay it out, kind of think about it. You don't want to do this and just end up with 2 or 3 and end up with a lot of wasted leather. So this is kind of a end piece for me anyway. I'm not going to panic with it. This looks like a good spot for it. And you want to draw on, this is the outside of the baseball. So you want to draw on the back side of the leather because you don't want marks showing up when you're playing baseball. And actually a silver marker works best on the darker leather, but for now this is what I got with me. And I'm just going to go along the outside of this pattern carefully. And you can see when you get a permanent pattern that's made out of wood, like I think I showed you earlier, one of those. Something like this. It's a lot easier to trace around, but for now, we're doing our first one. We're doing some trial and error. You really want to hold that piece down tight. You don't want it to move around as you're drawing on it. And when you look closely, it may not show up on the video, but even this dark marker on the dark leather, you will be able to see the outline. You can see I'm just moving my fingers along as I draw because I don't want this piece to move. Get into those corners. And hold this thing down tight. And then this last piece. A lot of times with a dark marker you can't tell where you've been. You may do it twice. But it actually shows up decent. Hopefully it'll show up on the video. You can see I've got that nice trace there. And again, this is where sharp leather scissors. And actually I have a different pair I usually use for this, but for now, it's the same thing as when you cut out the pattern. But you want to cut out this leather again, go very carefully here. Follow right along that edge as close as you can. And when you get into this little in piece, you got to be careful, slow it down. You don't want to go too far. You want to get to where when you get around to that piece, coming from the other side, that you can just clip it and it'll come right out. And if it doesn't come out clean, that's what we have that X-Acto knife for. And now it's a little more difficult than normal because there's a sunshine coming through the window, getting right into my eye. But I don't mind the sunshine right now. So we'll get this. Again, we're slowing down a little bit here, just to the edge. I'm going to go ahead and go this way on this one since this angle I've got. Sorry if I'm blocking your view here, but slowing it down to that point. Okay, let's come back and get this side now. I may have to come back and trim this tip as well. Nothing wrong with that. Having the lines showing like that, you'll be able to see where you do have spots that do need to catch a trim. There. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll like these big pieces of leather flopping around with it. I'm just going to rough cut around this right now. I don't want to waste leather just in case I need that when I'm coming another way, but I can kind of get this out of the way so I'm not fumbling with it. Now I can finish off this last petal. You can see when I trace there, I got a little bit of a mishap with the marker, but I can figure out what I'm doing there. Slow it down, get this piece to come out. You can kind of tell that it won't loosen up, so I got to come back again this side. Give it a little zip, won't come out. Do a little bit at a time until that piece comes out. And there we go. And then now for this last piece. Be careful with the sharp scissors. I have cut myself. Again, now into that corner, and that piece comes out. So there we have a lemon peel piece of leather that now we're ready to punch.